let's give a really warm welcome to Andrew Leclerc and Betty Seifu.
Hello, everybody. I'll tell you all what I really want is a new studio workflow. And I'm in luck because that's what today's session is about. My name is Betty Seifu. I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Movable Inc., and I specialize in all things studio.
And I'm Andrew Leclerc, Director of Product Marketing here at Movable Inc., also specializing in studio.
We're so happy to be here with you all in London today to talk to you about how Studio's new workflow is helping you overcome many of your content personalization bottlenecks. Now, speaking of those bottlenecks, one that we hear about all the time is the inability to generate enough personalized content. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, or you know this process very well, right? And if you do, then you know that it is quite difficult to get this done. So much so that it takes the average marketer anywhere between 1 to 6 hours to complete each piece of content for a particular campaign. Now let's just think about that for a second, right? Even in the most basicest of examples, say you have 5 campaigns actively running, and those 5 campaigns each have 5 audiences. And for your 5 audiences, you would like to have 5 different content variations. That right there would need 750 hours of work. No big deal. Which is why we end up with shocking stats like this one, that only 35% of marketers feel like they have enough content to effectively engage with their customers. So what does that tell us? That traditional approaches are not enough when it comes to scaling content. But that's exactly why Studio exists. Our entire goal is to make sure that brands like yours can create and deliver the types of hyper-personalized, one-to-one experiences that each and every one of your customers deserve. And from a product point of view, Andrew and I are trying to make sure that we're helping you make that as easy as possible. So we can't wait to show you what we've been up to and how Studio's new workflow changes the game when it comes to creating custom content. Okay. So all of this starts with the age-old question of, well, what should I create to get people to actually open my message? So, Andrew, do we have anything to help out there?
We do, and honestly, that's the driving force behind why we created what we're calling Tactics, which is a brand new way to design content in Studio. And we're gonna take you through all the details on that as we go. But now when you log into your product, you're gonna be met with this new screen, the Tactics Gallery. And what this does is show you all of the out-of-the-box use cases that you can launch with Studio. Everything from quick wins like countdown timers and scratch-offs to much more sophisticated use cases, things like live polls and product grids. And so if you already know what you want to create, perfect. All you got to do is come in and select it. But here's what's key. What's key is that if you don't, or you're looking for inspiration on where to go next, now we have you covered.
This is a beautiful place to come for inspiration. Okay, for today's purposes, what do you think about a product grid tactic?
Perfect.
Perfect.
So to do that, all you got to do is click into the tile. So once you click into Product Grid, you're going to be brought to this new overview page. And what it's going to do is walk you through everything that you need to do in order to create this, from an overview of where and why and when this tactic might make sense to use, to what data prerequisites do you have to have in place, to all the features that you can leverage within it. And the other really cool thing is what we're doing over here on the right is that now we're giving you out-of-the-box best practice templates that you can use when you're designing content so you don't need to start from scratch.
Very, very cool. I love this. And you know what's really great about it is it's just so straightforward and it takes you through everything. You know, when I think about tactics, so far it's come across as basically a faster guided experience for creating my favorite Movable Inc. use cases. That's great. But let's actually go through each step of creating the product grid tactic. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. So like you were just saying, one of my favorite parts about Tactics is how intuitive this is. You are literally guided through the entire process from configuration to design to previewing and tests. So when it comes to configuring your tactic, all you got to do is come in and give that a name, and you apply any relevant tags. From there, you're going to be able to select from all of the data sources that you've already pre-configured, and then it's just a matter of picking your visual layout. So in this example, I want to go in, I want to create a product grid that retargets customers that have abandoned something in their cart, and I want to have a don't miss out banner across the top of that. So all I have to do is select that one here in the middle. And now it's the fun part, right? Because I get to design my content. And if you're a current Studio client, we have heard your feedback that having to go in a product grid and design each element individually with your formatting and your fallback logic and your targeting strategy, That's a little confusing, right? Not to mention a little time consuming. So with tactics, we have fixed that. And now you can edit all the items in your grid all at the same time, both the visual layout and your waterfall logic. And for me, that's really what's key about this tactics, is that you're not losing any of the functionality, any of the flexibility that Studio provides. All of that's still there. It's just now infinitely easier to use and to understand.
Definitely. This is really great. And I love being guided through every step. It just makes me feel like I'm not missing anything really important for content creation.
Perfect. So as you go through this, once you've built out your tactic, the last step before you deploy this is to preview your work and see how this content is going to look in context, right? So you can do this for a number of different users. You can actually go in and send your team a test email in this example so that you can see what it looks like along with all the other blocks in your experience. And that's it. It's literally that simple.
Yeah, it really is simple, very straightforward. I have one more question though. What is this version 1 thing I'm seeing? This looks new to me. Could you explain that?
Yeah, so versioning is a brand new concept in our content creation workflow because we've heard feedback from all of you that you want to be able to go in and tweak your content over time and then see how that content either is or is not driving performance. So with versioning, you're now able to make any edits that you want over time and then see a published list of those and how things are changing. And we'll give you an example of that in just a minute. But for now, let's go ahead and actually deploy this tactic out. So when you're ready to add this content into your email, you're going to create what we're calling a deployment. And just like with tactics, you're going to come in and give this a name. And then when you click create, you're going to be brought to the creative tag, which, as all of you know, is simply an HTML code snippet that you copy and paste into your ESP. And if this is an evergreen module, meaning that you're actually going to include it in multiple campaigns, like you should, by the way, you're now going to be able to see all those deployments along with their associated metrics right here in Studio.
That's really great to note, by the way. But Andrew, I've got to ask you, I'm a very anxious person. What if I create a deployment, I get an embed code like you just said, and somebody has a last minute change, because that always seems to happen. What if I'm afraid of making that last minute change and it affects my whole email list? Do I just make the changes and hope for the best?
Yeah, you're pretty much out of luck.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. Of course, that's exactly why we've introduced versioning that we were just talking a minute ago. So now what you're able to do is anytime you want to make a change, all you have to do is come into your tactic and click edit, and then you can go in and make whatever adjustments that you need to. And once you're happy with that, you're going to see an unpublished draft version over there on the right that's ready to be reviewed by you and your teammates. And once you're happy with that, all you got to do is click publish, and then the live content is automatically going to update to reflect any of those changes anywhere that embed code's being used.
Very cool. I love this. And this is, having that process in place just sets us all up for quick, confident teamwork. Okay, so we have the product grid tactic, and let's just say it's been out in the wild, in the market for some time. How can we check in on how it's performing?
Yeah, so while all of those workflow, all of those reuse benefits in and of themselves are amazing, like don't get me wrong, but yeah, you've got to be able to report on this too. So if we jump back into our overview tab here, down below that version history, you're actually going to see how this tactic is performing over time. And the beauty of that is that you no longer need to navigate to a completely separate area of the product to see these results. Now, of course, you can still do that, right, if you want to deep dive into the analytics, but we wanted to make sure that you could view everything right in context. And as with everything in Studio, we wanted to give you the ability to customize this based on your unique needs. So as you can see, you can analyze this by a number of different metrics, be that impressions or clicks or conversions. You can customize this by date ranges, say the last 30 or 60 days, for example. But we all know, reporting, that's not one size fits all for every company out there, or arguably even every marketer within that company. For example, with a product grid, I might want to actually know what's my highest converting product in that grid. Whereas if it were a live poll, I might want to know what people are clicking on so I can retarget them in a future send. And that's why we created that next tab here, Tactics Insights. And so if I click into this, this gives you a much more detailed view on how every product in that grid is performing. So here I can notice that hiking boots is actually my highest converting item. And taking that a step further, pun intended, everyone see what I did there, yeah? We actually have an insight over here on the right that tells us that, hey, tactics that use this data source have a 12% higher click-through rate than ones that don't. So I don't know, this is pretty cool stuff. What do you think, Betty?
Kind of cool. No, very cool. So tactics performance is really great. And I also love that bit about the fact that, it adapts to show me the metrics that are most relevant for each particular tactic that you chose. But tactics performance is only one piece of content performance. How could we go about looking at other performance metrics?
Yeah, it's a wonderful use case for our new feature, Analytics Explorer. So if we jump back into the tactics screen, when we click that Explore More CTA, we're going to be brought right into Analytics Explorer. And what this is a new reporting feature that allows you to create custom data visualizations right inside of Studio so you can analyze based on any metrics and any dimensions you want. So Betty, you're a marketer. What are some of the things that you would look at to measure content performance?
Yeah, personally, I love to measure conversions and revenue. So is there a quick way for me to build that?
Indeed, there is. And not only can you go in and build that quickly, but then once you have, you can actually add this as a saved view, which means next time that you log into Studio, you're automatically going to be presented with the view that's customized to you.
I love a saved view. I have those on many of my favorite applications. And just like with Tactics Performance, I can play with the